Hi, good morning, everyone. We're back on the sixth episode of the podcast Statecraft in Motion. Today I have Ravindran again. Ravindran was here, I think, a couple of weeks ago. He brings a very unique blend of business and policy experience to our conversation. He's had 35 years of experience in multiple industries and in different locations, and particularly South India. So he's been in airlines business. He's been in many high value business consulting, running large airports around the world, and strategizing for airports and airport management and so on. And not only that, he's also very close to policymakers, and he's worked with several prime ministers from different of different countries, and also Malaysia. But he is a Malaysian himself, a qualified aerospace engineer from Minnesota,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
also masters in an MBA from Baltimore. Okay, so
Very
you've actually also spent time in the US.
A lot of time.
Yeah?
Yes.
Around what, 10 years, 15 years?
Total maybe close to 10 years.
Yeah?
Close,
Yeah.
just over 10 years.
What was that like? Did you have family then?
No. I was single swinging days. So it was formative years, right? America was the go-to place. And
Would you say this was in the 90s or year
This-
2000s?
started in the 80s.
Oh, okay. It was way back.
Yeah, way back. And what I studied, or what I had always wanted to study, was aerospace, aeronautical engineering. And in those days, aerospace was a restricted field, particularly for foreign students.
Right.
So it was run on a quota. And strangely enough, in Minnesota, which is all blue-eyed and blonde individuals, I was the only foreign student for 2 years running.
Oh.
And you can imagine, and lo and behold, I actually had hair at that point in time, right? And it was an afro, big afro. So you could imagine a classroom full of blue-eyed blonde individuals and one afro sticking out.
Okay. For as long as I have known Ravin, he didn't have his afro. Let's put it this way. Okay. I think it's been some interesting developments of late. We can see some positive signs coming out of the US India trade deal. I think especially over the last week or so, there's been talk, and I believe they US is rolling back some of its tariffs, which was initially 25%, and then it became 50%. And I believe in the last few days it's been reduced back to 25. We see that as a positive sign. I mean, there's some conversations rolling, and there is negotiations are being pursued. And in fact, JP Morgan's CEO Jamie Dimon said that US and India are natural friends. And he actually voiced confidence that the two countries could eventually strike a deal that will be acceptable to both countries, and that would pave the way forward for America to continue to be relevant in the global south. How do you see that?
I guess, America and India have been going back and forth a little bit. And what has been very interesting is, despite the aggressive moves on the tariff fronts, both leaders have had a very, very cordial relationship, particularly tweeting happy birthday messages from Trump
Yep.
and Modi responding in kind, right? So, at a personal level, there seems to be some level of warmth, right? I guess there's also a lot of posturing,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
But I believe that the Indian delegation is actually headed back for negotiations in US, and the US delegation I think had come to India, so that seems to be going back and forth a little bit. But I guess US has been hit by bumper crops
Mhm.
of soy, corn,
Tomatoes.
tomatoes, and a
Grains,
lot of
yeah.
this, they've also been hit by the fact that there's been levies or even sanctions on China,
Mhm.
and therefore China has stopped also buying a lot of these crops,
Yeah.
right? Now buying alternatively from Brazil, right? So US is trying to get their crops back into any kind of market, and so I think that's on the table for India. But India also has their own crops,
Yep.
right? And they also buy from Brazil.
Mm.
So the thing is, forcing your crops onto just because you have a bumper crop and using tariffs and sanctions may not be the right way to take this forward.
Yeah. Ravi, you mentioned posturing, a lot of posturing. We, as you rightly mentioned, the bumper crop of soy and corn, and I believe dairy and beef and so on, is also a result of China actually looking at other markets to source their soy and grains. And I believe, from what we read in the news, is that China actually deliberately stopped buying from the US virtually almost at the last minute, just before harvest time, and that I think a lot of farmers were caught on the back foot on that. So part of this posturing by US, why do you think that was necessary when you're trying to offload there's such a massive amount of grain? Why does it feel that it needs to posture?
I guess US of late has, I mean, US has always been the global superpower, right? Or the unipolar world, and suddenly realizing that there are multiple other polarities and stark polarities right now, right? One is China. Russia has always been the Soviet Union, and now Russia, right? And then you've got India, and with both China, India, or China, India, and Russia, you also have a greater voice of the BRIC countries, in addition to the global South.
But US has always brushed the BRICS countries off as something that would never happen. Do you feel that they still hold that position in Washington?
They probably want to hope to hold, right? But BRICS, and you see this in the way both India and China have responded to the tariffs or the sanctions, right?
Meaning, can you explain that? Yeah.
Meaning both have been in very classic Asian style. I don't respond. I don't say anything overtly, but I do things what is best for my own people, right?
So they don't do all the blustering.
There's no narrative.
The loud mouthing, the bad mouthing, and then, but just it's a very Asian thing, isn't it? It's a very Asian thing.
Just do. I'm doing, but I'm not doing behind your back. right? I don't stab you in the back, right? Very Asian in nature, right? I'm not stabbing you in the back, but I'm looking you in the face, but I'm actually doing stuff on my own. Thank you very much, right? So by doing so, suddenly, I guess all this bravado has actually created a BRICS that is even more active, because China is now buying a lot of this product from Brazil. India is also getting their like poultry feedstock from Brazil, right? So effectively, you have BRICS kind of emerging as a real trading bloc.
Do you see that?
I guess we are beginning to see that, right? Russia also seems to be leaning on them, right? So, and if you look at Russia as well, what the US or the West said, they will be economically finished because of the war, right? You see Russia proliferating, right? They are growing, right? They're not hurting, right? Who is hurting is the West.
Europe especially.
Europe in particular, right?
Yeah.
Most European economies are failing.
Yes.
Right? So the thing is, you talk about the Russian war or Russia attacking Ukraine, and the narrative was Russia will be finished, right? But you see the exact opposite happening. Then you go after the Asian giants, right? You kind of have the same kind of effect coming back, boomeranging back onto you.
Yeah. The US has threatened sanctions on China for buying oil and gas from Russia. I mean, how do you do that?
Exactly. And I guess, interestingly, Trump's speech in the UN last night was interesting, because he says, India and China continue to be the largest buyers of Russian oil. But only 2 weeks ago, I found out that NATO countries were still buying Russian oil, right? So clearly, you can't survive without the Russian oil support, right? Despite the fact that you're close enough to Saudi, right? But you still need that additional energy coming from Russia.
Sure.
So somewhere, somehow, this narrative needs to start changing, right? And you see a lot of this, the wealth. I was talking to kind of a wealth manager, right? And he was saying how the global wealth has actually now physically, you can see the center of gravity has shifted to Asia, right? And most of the money flow is sitting here, right, looking at where to invest, how to invest, right?
And you're talking about the whole of Asia. It's not
All
just
of Asia.
It's not just China, right?
Not just China, not just India. I'm talking Japan. I'm talking South Korea. I mean, Japan is now looking at investing billions, 68 billion into India, right? So clearly and their cost of funds is very low.
Yep.
Right? And they're looking at investing into these particular economies. So what's happening is, you see, I think what we are witnessing is a geopolitical or even a geological shift from west back to the east. So, what we all had talked about, the Asian century, I think the Asian millennia has started, right? And it's clearly here. So how does the world now deal with the Asian
century? This Asian century.
I think it's an Asian millennium.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not even the century.
Yeah.
It's a millennium. Wow, it's even bigger. It's
a tectonic shift, right? Growing up in the US and seeing the West and working in the West and looking up to the West, today you see a crumbling West, right? And you see this entire shift happening in the East.
We'll talk about, while you see, we're getting a lot of mixed signals. You know,
Yes.
on one hand, I believe Trump is trying very hard to bring back manufacturing into the U.S.,
Yes.
which I think is, I mean, as far as the U.S. standpoint is concerned, I think it's the right thing to
Yes.
do. But yet I can see that the footing that they are trying to embark on is a little bit how I would say a little bit peppered, and they are stumbling a little bit. I mean, to give you an example, okay, as I said just now, Jamie Dimon was saying, look, you know, India and United States are natural friends, and he believes that the trade deals are going on the right track. But yet at the same time, he also criticized Trump of imposing the 100,000 fee on the H-1B visa, which actually is kind of antithesis to what you're trying to do. So why are we seeing all this? It seems to me
It
a little bit disjointed.
Very-
So can you
pretty
explain? Maybe
disjointed,
maybe
right?
you can explain what's going on.
I guess you see a bit of kind of populist kind of activities, right? Knee jerk, right?
That's the posturing you're talking about?
That's the posturing, right? Knee jerk, just so that my domestic support base is happy for a while, right? But the long-term implications, I mean, H-1B visa holders are mostly techies from India and medical professionals, right? So by restricting H-1Bs, you might actually hurt your own medical industry or,
Right.
or sector,
Yeah.
right? In your own.
And here you are, you're trying to bring back pharmaceuticals, you're trying to
Exactly.
bring back technology in the pharmaceutical area. So
So
what's happening?
the thing with the H-1B, it's very interesting, what transpired with the H-1B. Now, on the one hand, China came out with a phenomenal tactic to say we have our own variant, right? And we will invite, global, STEM holders or techies
Yep,
and
yep,
engineers,
yep.
right? We will invite the best of the best, right? At the same time, Japan has come out with a deal with India that says, look, if you're a techie and we have reasons to believe that we can use you, we'll give you a PR, straightforward PR, and the PR costs 15,000 rupees.
This is Japan.
Japan
Oh,
for
okay.
an Indian, right? And today's exchange rate rupee to Malaysian is, I think, about 21. So it is 715 ringgit
To get a visa,
To get a PR.
PR in Japan
in Japan.
for a professional.
Professional
Yeah.
techie from India, right?
It's
So
almost it's negligible.
it is negligible, right? I mean, it's less than 1,000 ringgit for a full PR,
Yeah.
right? If you've got the qualifications, right? And what it does is, and Japan has a reducing population, right? Negative growth rate.
Yeah.
And similarly with Russia, they're looking at techies, right? So suddenly, I guess this H-1B issue has opened up other avenues for Indian H-1B
That sounds like
holders.
soya bean to me. That's a
Exactly.
soya bean story to me.
Exactly.
It is. You're pushing people away.
Yes. But second thing for India, from an Indian perspective, right? Indians or Indian techies, now the top of the creme de la creme of their Indian Institute of Technology or the top end techies will always aspire to leave for the US.
It's like China
Right.
as well.
Just like
yeah,
China,
China. Yeah, same
But
thing.
today, I think Indians must step back and start realizing that the tectonic shift has happened, right? The real funds are sitting in Asia. Right?
Yeah.
As I said, the Asia millennia is here upon us, right? So aspiring to go to land of gold and honey or milk and honey, right? You should start realizing that the land of milk and honey is actually in Asia. Number one. Number two, Indian entrepreneurs who have been riding on the H1B need to start investing or reinvesting into Indian R&D. A very, very small percentage of Indian GDP goes into R&D, right?
Oh, okay.
So Indian...
How is that? Because I know in Malaysia for the longest time we've been talking about developing indigenous technology, IP and things like this. Was India not on the same track?
It has always been, but that India has always been private sector led. Right? So for the private sector, private entrepreneurs...
Unlike China is very much driven by what the government government policy.
Policies drive and
then
the
party,
exactly. And the funds are also made available.
Yes.
Whereas Indian entrepreneurs are very opportunistic, right? They go where the quickly available funds are. Right?
So what you're saying is that because it's private sector led, a lot of money and of effort was actually then transferred to the Silicon Valley instead of developing a Silicon Valley of India.
India, correct.
Okay, so now what you're saying is that that should be reversed.
That has to come back, right? You need to start reinvesting into solid R&D, right? Create in 1.4 billion people. China is equivalent. They've got the WeChats, they've got the, all the big techs.
Yeah, that's right. The Alibabas,
Alibaba,
the WeChat,
TikToks, right? India doesn't.
Yeah.
Right? So where is the Indian variance? Right? So it's time India started looking inward, right? Now, Prime Minister Modi in his speech, again, not directly hitting back at the H1B issue, right? 2 days ago, in her public statement, he said India's biggest enemy is that we look outside for these opportunities. We never look within. Right? So I think it's time India or Asians start to introspect. Right? Because again, the shift of fund flows are sitting here. Right? The growth is going to be here, right? So reinvesting in your own people, reinvesting in your own capabilities is, I think, something very, very critical.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So there's a lesson to be learned here, and the way the Prime Minister Modi came out in response to this was not attacking H1B, but basically saying our biggest enemy is within. We look outside for opportunities, not inside. Right? So India has to change in multiple ways. One is, of course, R&D, right? But from a policy standpoint, they will have to push the ecosystem inside India to make it easier for techies to stay, for professionals to work.
Correct.
And I've lived and worked in India.
I think we had the same problem in Malaysia back then.
Yes.
People were looking at international schools, it is not just a matter of attracting expats back to Malaysia or India. It's the whole ecosystem, it's the whole entire package.
Yes.
It's the housing, it's the quality of life, it's the healthcare, it's the infrastructure, it's the
schooling,
suburbs,
what
suburbs to live in, restaurants, entertainment, transport, and the whole big package. It's not just I'll slap a huge salary and then you just move. Because people are not just on their own,
and it's not just you as an individual. You have to bring the family.
Family, and then the spouse could also be working, could also have her or his own career, doing other things. So it's not so straightforward.
Yes. So I guess this is to me, it is an opportunity back to India or even Asia, Asian nations, right? It's an opportunity to introspect, right? But governments need to step in from a policy standpoint, right? And that policy, I mean, having worked with government, right? That policy has to be gazetted. That policy has to be driven down, right? And that's the other challenge.
Civil service. The civil service.
One is civil service. Two is, how do you connect policy, civil service? See, there's policy. You can write the policy. Then you've got the civil service, but then you've got the private sector, and then you've got the citizens, right? You've got to connect this entire thing.
Okay, since your area is aerospace, give us an example of how this can be done in the aviation industry.
Okay, couple of things
at a very practical level.
Couple of things. India has started developing their indigenous aircraft.
Oh, okay.
Airframe. Okay. They're even talking about next 5th or 6th generation aircraft, fighters, right? But India has never really had their indigenous engines, right? So they were always, again, look west, right? Always depending on the Americans, right? And GE has had delays in that. The French had come in, right? And today the French are ready to work with the Indians to develop the Safrans of the world, are ready to work with India on their indigenous engines, right? Similarly with Russia. Right? Can India work with China to develop an Asian engine, for example, right? Geopolitics aside, right? Can you work on a civilian engine, right? As an example, right? You've got the techies, you've got China with very good material sciences, right? Can you collaborate to create better airframes for civilian aircraft? Right? China has already produced 1 or 2 civilian aircraft variants, right? So India really needs to start stepping up, because you are the largest or the fastest growing civil aviation market, right? And you're the 3rd largest civil aviation market in the world, right? You've got 70 airports being constructed. You've got another 200 coming up, connecting, 2nd, 3rd, 4th tier cities, right? And India is unique in the sense that particular aircraft types don't fit this network. So, for example, just to digress a little bit, when I was there itself, India was looking at the Brazilian variant, the Embraer, right, as a regional jet. But yet, they were not able to make it profitable in certain sectors, right? So, now if I was the Indians, I would look at working with either Embraer or one of these others to say, can I design more cost efficient variants that will help me connect 3rd, 4th tier cities? Right? Actually create that civil aviation movement, which you have to do anyway, right? So that's something that I would do from an aerospace standpoint.
Of course, everything is easier said than done, What you're trying to say is that it is a matter for India to come up on its own. It just needs to shift the attention inwards and have the confidence to be able to build their own IP on their own. That is what it would take to in a way have some self-sufficiency, independence, and so forth. Again, it's easier said than done, because you have also a lot of competition. Recently, I want to talk a little bit, an extension of your expertise. Recently, Russia and China just signed a multi-decade agreement over the supply of oil and gas via a pipeline, what they call the Power of Siberia 2. So this is the second pipeline, although it's been in the works for a long time. But this time it seems like the two leaders are, basically put down a mandate and say, look, you guys need to work on it, and I believe, just speaking to the Russians, they feel that especially on the Russian side, they're definitely very committed to it, because they do need the revenue. They do need the oil revenue, especially since Nord Stream 2 was destroyed. And given their uncertain relationship with Europe over so many things, these are all centuries old adversaries, issues, and so on. So it is not going to go away. So they do realize that this pipeline is going to be very important for the survival and for the next phase of Russia's growth. So it's going to go through Mongolia, right from the top of northern Russia and down to China. So it seems to me that China is going to have, I'm going to put up the map for our audience as well, so that you can visualize the pipeline. It's about 2,600 kilometers long, which is like from here to Manila or from here to Hanoi. It's about 3-hour flight kind of thing. So it's huge. I mean, it is very, very it is very capital intensive. And that's supposed to be completed by 2030. So you're talking about less than 5 years, And that's going to deliver about 50 billion cubic meters, and that's 10 times the volume of the original POS1. So you're going to have a situation where you're going to have looks like a fairly stable flow of energy from Russia into China. How do you think that is going to affect I believe it's going to be better in terms of stabilizing oil prices globally. I mean, that which means that we are all less dependent on the Middle East. So I think it's better.
Yes.
But at the same time, I also feel, Malacca is a very important choke point. It's a very important trade route for us. Yes, it has become a choke point, and it's become quite congested, and but we also don't want to lose business, right?
Yes.
So how do you think it will affect us, and also affect even that whole what you call string of pearls, those islands and Bangladesh, even India and so on? How's that going to affect our ports and our business and our importance, you think?
I guess number one, as you mentioned, how does it affect Middle Eastern oil supply? But not to forget, US is also a pretty large oil producer today. I mean, they've been pumping shale oil, right? They've started re-drilling, right? So it will affect their markets as well. You're right, it may actually help stabilize or bring the price of energy down, right? And that particular region, China, Russia, they need the energy. They need the energy, which could get choked by shipping lanes.
Yeah.
Right.
Which are sensitive to geopolitical...
Very sensitive.
Very sensitive to geopolitics.
Yes. So, one, on a strategic basis, it is, I think, it's a very interesting project, right? And that too, they want to get it done by 2030.
I know, that's less than 5 years. I mean, that's so ambitious.
Yeah. But imagine the kind of oil price stabilization that will happen, that can happen, right? Number two, back to your question, what does it do for us?
Yeah.
Right? I think the Straits of Malacca trade route will remain, right? It's one of the busiest trade routes in the world.
In the world, yeah.
Right?
If not the busiest.
Yes. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it will remain, But what is happening is, one, the US has tried to establish, um, I wouldn't call it choke points, but strategic points in the Indian Ocean, right? One of which is the Saint Martin Island from Bangladesh.
Yeah.
You have turmoil happening in Bangladesh, and you have huge influence by the US.
Do you think that's related?
Possible. Possible. You also have a re-establishment or bonhomie of ties with Pakistan, right? And now the US administration saying that they want Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan. All right. Now, actually, I was looking up the map, right? I'll pass you the map later.
Yeah.
Right?
Which we will post for our audience.
If you look at the proximity of Saint Martin, Pakistan, Afghanistan, they're all strike range to this particular pipeline.
Oh, strike range, nuclear, whatever. Okay, missiles.
Let's face it. There was a strike on Nord Stream pipeline.
Yes.
Right? So this is well deep into the Russian and Chinese territory, but at the same time, it's interesting. You've got 3 points, which is strike range.
Yes. I actually hadn't realized that. And I also looked it up only last evening before this podcast was. Actually, China shares a very tiny border with Afghanistan.
Yes.
It's very. I mean, of course, on the map it's very small, but I'm sure it's many miles long. But I didn't realize they actually share a small little slither of land next to each other.
Yes.
And apparently, the airbase that Trump was referring to is actually near a nuclear site in China. So it's not a coincidence.
Exactly. And suddenly, they're talking about they gave up Bagram Air Base.
Oh, by the way, Putin reminded Trump that actually it was built by the Russians, by the Soviets, not by the Americans.
It was built by the Soviets, but I mean, it was just 2-3 years ago where they had a very messy exit.
They just walked out.
And now they want the airbase back again, right? And you're right. It's very close to a Chinese nuclear base, right? And then you've got Pakistan on the other side playing ball, right? Then you've got Bangladesh playing ball, right? So effectively
So at the end of the day, it's all about resources, isn't it?
It's all about resources and controlling flow of the resources.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, last week when I had an interview with Dr. Shamil from Russia, he was saying, why do you think Trump is so hung up about Greenland? Because the Northern Sea Route is the only major sea route that the US is not involved in.
Yes.
Any other, if you look, Suez Canal, Straits of Malacca, South China Sea, so on and so forth, US is everywhere, except the Northern Sea Route,
which is dominated by the
Russians and by proxy also the Chinese. Yeah.
With the melting ice caps. Right, you have additional sea routes coming up.
Correct. So his whole intention of Greenland is because he wants America to have a foothold in there, because that's the only major sea route that they're not involved. Well, I thought, wow, okay, that's really something. So what you're saying is that it may relieve some of the traffic from Malacca, but it does not diminish our importance in terms of the geopolitics and in terms of maintaining. Mind you, we've been a major sea route for the last 600 years, since the Portuguese.
Yes. And that sea route,
and that is how I think people don't realize how much in the center of things we are.
It goes thousands of years.
Yeah.
Goes to the Chola Empire and the relationship they had with the Indochina region, right? So that route went all the way from here right down back to India, right? So it is a very ancient. It's one of the most ancient sea routes.
That's where Hinduism came from, came
Buddhism,
through Buddhism,
even Islam,
yes, all
right?
came through this
I
very
mean,
Straits of Malacca.
Islam came to Malaysia, to northern Malaysia, through the Gujarati Muslim traders.
Yep, yep.
Right? It was first
Correct.
set up through the Gujarati Muslim traders, right? So this trade route goes way, way back, right? But this is where, interestingly, what the Singapore Prime Minister and Prime Minister Modi had agreed during the Prime Minister's visit to India recently is that India and Singapore are going to do joint maritime surveillance in the South China Sea.
Singapore and
India.
India. Yep.
Right. So this is where I would ask the question, where are the Malaysians? Right? We should be part of this. Right? We should benefit from it, both from a piracy standpoint and as well as making sure no one is choking our.
Yeah. Were we
Eh,
not
because-
were we not invited?
Exactly. Right. So
And if so, why not?
yes, exactly. Because most of that route is Malaysian,
Yeah.
right? Shared, of course, with Sumatra, but most of it is Malaysian,
Right.
right? And most of the major ports in that route are in Malaysia, right? Except, of course, for Singapore, right? But you've got Tanjung Pelepas, you've got Portland, you've got Penang, right?
That's right. It's all the way
They're
through.
all the way down, right? So the question then begs the question, isn't Malaysia part of this?
Why?
Right? I mean, this is something that did come up several years ago, and we wanted to, but I'm not sure where it went. Right? So we were the early initiators.
Right.
Right? So
Someone should prompt the present government. Hey, look,
yes,
wake up.
yes, yeah. I mean, you've got to be part of this.
For sure. I mean, we are right smack in the middle of the South China Sea. You know?
Yes. And the Japanese would also want this route, because I know that the Japanese wanted part of this in terms of providing their Orion aircraft for the surveillance. Right? I mean, this is 10 years ago. So, and it's a route that is even important for the Japanese, to the Chinese, to the Koreans, all the way down.
I think we've had our lives too easy.
Yeah. Or we've got different priorities right now.
I mean, it was good. We had the conversation the other day about what India is trying to do in this part of the world. I think maybe as a result, as you said, what happened in the Bay of Bengal, you can see that there's a lot of unstable governments surrounding India now. You had Nepal just had a regime change. You had Bangladesh, which had a regime change last year, I believe, and then a few years before that was Sri Lanka. So, and Pakistan, of course. I can see that.
Maldives.
Maldives. Yeah. So I can see that India is, look, they're trying to say, okay, we need to get a hold of this. And one of the plans you mentioned was that they were trying to develop the Andaman Sea islands,
Andaman and Nicobar
and
Islands.
Nicobar Islands. And it was like, for the longest time, I've never really thought about how important these islands were, again, until I looked at the map. And I was like, hey, it is actually an entry point into Straits of Malacca. And if Malaysia, as you said, don't work closely with India, which is, these islands are owned by India, although you think it's a little bit far off, that can be problematic for Malaysia if we decide to be nasty with each other, or if we step on the wrong toes in India. I think that's going to be And we never looked at it that way, you know. I mean, like I said, we were so happy with our own comfort zone, and we don't realize, hey, you know, there are choke points, there's geopolitics that can stop us from doing so many things, and stop us from enjoying so many things that we've taken for granted for many decades and maybe even centuries, you know.
See, if you look at the map, right, Andaman Nicobar Island is actually very close to Malaysia.
It is.
We are on the Andaman Sea. When you go to Langkawi, you are sitting on the Andaman Sea.
Yes,
Right?
that's right.
Secondly, I had this conversation with a Singapore ambassador or a Singapore diplomat, right? Retired, but very recent. I mean, few years ago. So when we talked about India developing the Andaman Nicobar Islands, and I'll come back to how large the development is, right? He said, you know, Ravi, you're the first person from Malaysia who is actually talking to me about it, because I have actually physically visited Aceh. At the tip of Aceh, you can actually see the Andaman Nicobar Island, and you can wave to someone across. That is how close it is. Okay. Now, the development in Andaman Nicobar Island is not just infrastructure,
Right.
It is plantations, which is rubber and palm oil.
Give us actually, before we go further, can you just give us the background on how it came to be part of India instead of, I don't know, Thailand or Malaysia or Indonesia? What was the historical?
It
what
was
the
always part of India. Always part of India. In fact, the British had established a penal colony in Andaman Nicobar Island. Some of the most prominent freedom fighters from India were jailed in Andaman Island,
Okay.
right? And so this has been there for ages, right?
Right.
Going back to my origins, which is aviation.
Right.
Interestingly, for an aircraft to fly over anywhere, you have set routes that
Yep.
you take,
Yep.
right? And the set routes are there because there are ground waypoints.
Yep.
You have to go over the waypoint and report in,
Correct.
right? Our waypoint is in
Is-
Port Blair.
Which is right in the middle of
Yes.
the
So in
Nicobar
order
Islands.
to go over the Bay of Bengal, you
Yes.
have to go over Port Blair.
That's why every time when you come back from, or from the west, it's always flying
always
over those islands.
Yes.
Always those islands. You have to go through
And
that.
you know that you're hitting particular times of year. You know have just left Port Blair when you're flying,
Yep.
right? I know, because suddenly you'll have heavy turbulence, and
Yes.
this is the
Yes.
movement around the Bay of Bengal,
Correct. Yep.
right?
Yep.
So Port Blair has always been a safety point from an aviation standpoint, right? Now, coming back to the development of Port Blair, Andaman Nicobar Island, is not just infra, right? It is plantations. Who are the best rubber and palm oil experts in
Malaysia.
this region?
Malaysia.
So why aren't we there,
I don't know.
right?
You ask
And some
me.
of these estates are much larger than what we have, right? So number one, right? So this is something, it's been a pet peeve of mine, right? Which is why I spoke to the Singapore diplomat, right? And he's like, you know what? This is exactly what we've been saying, that your entire growth triangle is sitting there: southern Thailand, Aceh,
Yep.
Andaman Nicobar, and northern peninsula, which is Kedah and Penang,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So you are sitting in a very sweet spot for growth, right?
What's the population?
It's very small.
Yeah.
It's very small.
A few thousand people kind of thing, or a few
Couple of
hundred?
million, maybe 1 or 2 million. That's it.
Oh, okay.
That's about
All right.
most, right? Secondly, what India is doing is they are redeveloping the airport as well as the port, right? Airport is
Yes.
good enough,
Yes.
right? But the port becomes a
Is it a
redistribution.
domestic one, or is it an international airport that they have?
Airport is international.
It's international.
Yeah.
Huh?
Today, they have increased tourism, so a lot of Indian-based tourists actually go to Andaman Nicobar Island.
Oh, okay.
All right, they've got very good beaches,
I'm sure.
right? Secondly, the port infrastructure is very interesting because it becomes a transshipment port. Right, it's deep water,
Yeah.
right? It's classic transshipment.
Mhm.
So you can take a lot of the trade that's coming through the Straits of Malacca and you can transship to all of Bay of Bengal. Anywhere from southern Thailand right up to Myanmar, to Bangladesh,
Mhm.
to India,
Yep.
right? So strategically, it's a very good move. Again, my question is, why aren't we involved? Right? From maritime surveillance to working with this region, because there's a lot of funds coming into Andaman Nicobar, right? Which we can tap into in the Northern Triangle,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
I mean, we used to have the different corridors, right? Northern corridor, Eastern
Oh,
corridor.
yeah, that's right.
Right.
And
So,
then you have the ECRL and all that.
Yes.
What happened to all that?
right. So all of that actually feeds nicely into what is happening in Andaman Nicobar,
Mm.
right? Clearly, the Indians also see this as a strategic military,
Yeah.
capability.
Yep.
That means projecting their capability in the Bay of Bengal all the way to the mouth of Straits of Malacca. Right? I'm not necessarily saying they can choke it, but still, it is a presence.
Mm. Mm.
Right? Now they're going to do surveillance across Straits of Malacca. Now, this is where
Who's doing surveillance? Sorry.
Indians,
Yeah.
Indians,
India
they-
and Australia.
and
That's the
Singapore,
one. Yeah.
Singapore,
And India. Yeah.
Singapore and India, right? Japan with the Quad, they will also want to come in,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
So this is where I see opportunities for Malaysia to start stepping up to say, look, we can also provide security capabilities, but let's look at the bigger economic impact,
Mm.
right? With a transshipment port coming there, imagine the trade that's going to happen there. The economic cone that is going to be built there, right? Penang is not that far away.
Maybe they see that as competition rather than collaboration.
Possible.
Mm. Mm.
But it's coming,
Yeah.
right? What are you going to do about it? Right?
Mm.
It's on the mouth of your straits.
Yep. Yep.
So you might as well collaborate. Right? Particularly so if the land bridge is coming through northern, in southern Thailand.
Mm.
Right? Again, it will hit the same choke point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very narrow. It's a very narrow strait.
Yes.
It's very narrow sea, lane. Actually, it's just a lane. In
It
the
is.
scheme of it, it's just a lane.
And it's very, very close
Yeah?
to both Malaysia and Aceh.
And Thailand.
Yes.
And Thailand as well. So, from your standpoint, the economic and the security implications are huge on Malaysia. And somehow you feel that we are not seeing the potential there. In claiming a stake in there, which I suppose we will have to. I don't know how do we raise the profile of this very important initiative.
I have actually written about it
Mm.
maybe a year or 2 years ago in the Hindustan Times.
Oh, okay. All right, interesting. So maybe you want to send me the link
I
so
will,
that
I
I
will.
will put it
I will.
on the link for our audience to read. Yeah.
So this is something that you're right. We need to see a way that we can raise it to the powers that be, in Malaysia.
Yep.
Clearly, Singapore is already seeing it because they are now going to become ASEAN chair
Yes.
Right.
Next year, right?
next year.
Yeah.
I mean, end of this year.
Hmm.
Right?
Which is not too long.
Not too far. Right. So
Actually, I've always felt that ASEAN chair of 1 year is too short. You hard
there's
to
not
achieve.
enough time.
Hard to achieve because it's I know. I mean, we're all in this in the same group of people working on the same things, but still, it's just not enough time.
See, but Andaman Nicobar is also a link to ASEAN because a lot of the sea route covers most of ASEAN.
That's our nostril almost.
It's our lifeline.
It's our lifeline,
Right.
our lifeblood, because that's where we are getting our oxygen from.
Correct.
Otherwise,
So by virtue of the Singaporeans coming up with the joint surveillance, to me, I read it as Singapore has already seen this as an economic opportunity. Right? The rest of ASEAN needs to.
okay, I mean that's the economic opportunity is one, but it's also layered in with security. Do you see that as a counterbalance to maybe perhaps China's rise?
Yes.
It is.
Yes. It is.
It is.
It is. I mean, it's a very strategic, but it is a counterbalance, right?
Why do you see the need for us to have this counterbalance when China is our biggest trading partner?
See, today China is our biggest trading partner for ASEAN,
Yep.
right? But you've got a rising India with food and other kind of industries becoming very, very prevalent,
Yep.
right? Just depending on just security of supply, you can't just depend on one supplier,
Yep.
right? You've got such a close access to India,
Correct.
right? Particularly so that the rest of the world is in such turmoil, right? And I come back to that original point. This is the ASEAN Asian millennia,
Yeah.
right? So you've got 700 million people sitting here. You've got 1.4 and another 1.4, right? You've got close to 3 odd billion people
Yeah.
just in this vicinity, right? From a trade, economics, security, that's more than enough.
Yeah. I mean, what you're saying is that at the end of the day, China is still a superpower.
Yes.
And superpowers behave like superpowers do. Okay?
Yes.
They want to have it their own way. They tend to be, they can be heavy-handed once in a while, no matter how benevolent they want to project themselves to be. And it's always good to have a counterbalance because it is actually for our own good. It is not because we want to be adversarial to the superpowers, but to recognize that rising superpowers will always compete.
One is competition,
Yeah.
right? But two, security of supply is not just from a competition standpoint. It is making sure that there's no disruption there.
Yeah.
So if there's another COVID, there's another
Yeah.
whatever natural calamity that could happen,
Correct.
right? That would it happened during COVID.
Yeah.
Most supply chain lines were cut,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So again, having security of supply, making sure you've got another hinterland,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And we are blessed. We've got two hinterlands,
Yes, we are. We are very, very.
And if we think a little bit further, we've got the Eurasian hinterland as well, right? Which is what the Russians have been talking about,
Yeah.
right? So you've got enough, but you're not making use of it.
I think maybe because we have not in our lifetime seen an Asian millennium. I mean, centuries ago, probably.
Yeah.
I think that was, like you said, this was the hinterland. This was the center of civilization for the the rest of the world for the longest time. Okay,
Yes.
I mean, the Roman Empire had its own civilization, yeah, no doubt, the Persians and all that. But we, in our lifetime, has never experienced this. So this is, for us, is very strange. It feels, in some ways, it feels uncomfortable, yet it feels exciting. And we are trying to pave the way, okay, not maybe, probably not for you and me, but for our future generation, because we have, children and future generation. For them to see this development now is very hard, because they're still young. But I think the policymakers must pave the way, surely, looking at the tipping point, that we need to pave the way for this. And somehow I feel that we are still not in our mindset. It's not just Malaysia. Maybe Singapore is saying it earlier than us, but maybe India and Malaysia, we will kind of a little bit, we need some nudging, I think.
Again, that term, the Asian millennia, needs to sink in. It takes a while for you for you to think, and are we sitting on the, it's not just the cusp, we're there already, right? Secondly, as you say, we are so westernized. Most of us are Anglophiles. I mean, classic. You go and sit in a restaurant and you see these young kids coming in, and they'll be having conversations next table, right? It's all heavy American or Western accents, right? But the bags that they're carrying and stuff, they're going to local institutions, right? But you're aping the West. This happens in India as well. Right? So it is so much aping the West that you have not internalized what you have. Not just the fact that economy is sitting here, but culturally as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there needs to be a resurgence of cultural identity, right? That's why I keep repeating the Asian millennia, right? You've got to accept the fact that, we come from a very ancient identity, right? And today we are witnessing that identity return, right? For a couple of 100 years, it was sitting somewhere else. Only a couple of 100 years.
Yeah, it's not that long ago.
Right?
Well, I mean, the scheme of things is not really that long
but,
ago.
We are sitting not in the cusp, but we are in it, and you don't realize you're in the eye of the storm.
No,
right?
we don't.
You don't realize, we are still aping. Right? I see a lot of that in India. I see a lot of that, and today, quite honestly, I see a little bit more of a resurgence of cultural realization coming out of India, right? Not necessarily only religious, but cultural.
Yeah.
Right? Re-embracing your culture.
2023, I attended a forum yesterday. Talking about looking at civilization. It was an Islamic Confucian civilizational dialogue. So in 2023, what President Xi Jinping was saying is, we need to embrace, I kind of like this concept, global civilizational initiative, which means that all of us come from different civilizations. You have the Indian civilization, you have the Chinese civilization, Persian, Indochina, you have, of course, the Western civilization and so forth. And what we need is a global civilizational dialogue and initiative whereby we do not push our own values on other civilizations, because other civilizations have equally strong values and universal values and virtues and things like this. So it doesn't have to be a clash of civilizations, as the famous book by Huntington.
Yes.
Why does it have to be a clash? if you are a Shia Muslim, you are a Shia Muslim. And if you're Sunni or you're Hindu, you're Christian, you're Buddhist, what does it matter if we can all trade? What does it matter if you're a communist? What does it matter if you're a Democrat? What does it matter if you're a whatever, left wing, right wing? At the end of the day, we all need the same things. We need to survive. We want to have a peaceful life for our families. We want to have security. We want to have a decent living. What does it matter if you believe in communism, or what does it matter? Why do we have to have sanctions on a country that doesn't have an ideology that you share?
Exactly. And this goes back to the Asian identity, because Asia traditionally, thousands of years ago, used to share philosophies.
Yeah.
They used to have dialogue, debates, but they never fought over it.
Yeah.
It was never ideological fights. Okay. Whether it's Hindu philosophers or Buddhist philosophers and vice versa, right? Taoists and so on, right? There were always dialogue, right? And then you agree to disagree and you move on and you coexist.
Because it's, at the end of the day, these are ideologies, right?
Exactly.
These are just very higher level kind of spiritual beliefs. That doesn't stop us from having a meal together.
Exactly.
Doesn't stop us from trading.
Yes.
Doesn't stop us from doing business or learning from each other. Why does it have to be? Why do I have a sanction? Why do I have to sanction you just because you don't believe in the color of my clothes?
Yes. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So it is, and again, what you're describing, it is part and parcel of the Asian culture. Right. So it's time we start stepping back, and saying, look, philosophies and ideologies are not going to break by relationships.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
You need to coexist.
Yes.
Right. But you just understand and agree to disagree, and then move on.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. It is, and I can also understand why Russia and China wants to have this take this approach, because they are going back to what I believe to be land powers, right? Maritime is not their strength, so maritime is more a Western power play. So if they're going to go back to the Silk Road and so on, if you look at the countries that they cover, I think 80% of the Silk Road or BRI or Belt and Road countries, 80% of them are Muslim countries.
Yes.
So if you have if you adopt a hegemonic stance of, Chinese civilization is better, or Orthodox is better, or it's not going to work. It's not going to work for them.
Yes.
So, I mean, you can say that it's self-interest, but I think it is also a very Asian way.
It is.
It is. But how do we just have to have more conversations like this, because I feel that not enough people are realizing. Maybe it's a matter of self-confidence, like have that realization that we this is going to be the Asian millennium, and how do we build a more confident generation at this point in time, because that is going to set the tone for the next 1,000 years,
Yes.
1,000 years.
But in reality, it is not just a century, right? To me, if you look back into history, the center of power moved to the west only a couple of 100 years ago.
Yeah, it's not that long
right
ago.
Now it has already shifted back, but we are not realizing that we are sitting in the middle of it.
I know. And it's even when you talk and when you speak to the younger generation, even they don't realize it. I think they're so caught up. They're caught up in, I suppose, TikTok. I don't know.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's Hollywood. It could be American soft or Western soft power. It could be any of those, right? Fashion, whatever, right? But the thing is, we need to stop, breathe a little bit, and look at reality, right? This
I wonder what's the thing that would wake us up. I mean, even you and I, why are we speaking in English? Right? I mean, there's also a reflection
Yes,
of us
yes,
hanging
yes.
on to the past, right?
yes, yes, correct.
So we are also equally guilty,
Yes.
really.
Yes. But yeah, I guess there needs to be a reckoning. There needs to be a reckoning, both
I wonder
on
what that
this,
would be.
both on this. Secondly, there needs to be a reckoning from the Malaysian standpoint. Is, look, there's so much happening here, right? We really need to step up our game, right, and engage with different.
I can see pockets of people trying to do it, but it just, I think the momentum and that, what do I call it, a lot of nucleus, but not a center, to just, like you say, what the
Not
the
enough
reckoning.
policy.
Okay, I think we're going to end our podcast here. And it's been a pleasure speaking
Thank you.
with you and sharing so many developments. But as things develop, I think it's moving very fast. So I think we
Yeah,
will,
it's a bit
as
too
we
fast.
and as we see things develop, we will have more conversations, and hopefully we will come to a point where Malaysians really come and say, hey, look, we have the confidence to be able to build this, and take advantage of this, because we are so caught up in, oh no, the world is fragmenting, the world is changing, but we just somehow not getting the grip of things. I mean, yes, I know it's hard because it is fragmenting, but we don't have to fragment together with the fragmentation.
Correct.
Right? We don't have to be pushed along. That's what I'm trying to say.
You're right. Well, certain parts are fragmenting, but it's like certain other parts are fusing,
Oh, yeah.
right? You never would have imagined a thaw in the India-China relationship.
No, we
Right.
yeah.
So today, I think that corridor is opening up, right? Again, I think Russia is playing a role there, right? But you see a corridor opening up,
Yeah.
right? So while certain parts are fragmenting, certain other parts are fusing, right? So again, as you said, things are changing so fast, right?
Yet all we can do is sit back, and it's not the right thing to do, but I don't know. It is quite. We can't sit back.
Correct.
Yet we don't really know how to get hold of ourselves to say, okay, this is the plan. This is the plan. But it's interesting. It's a very interesting time, that's for sure. But then again, we have the luxury of like, oh yeah, okay, we just look. We're not at war, so we have the luxury of say, okay, let's sit back and look at things a little bit more carefully. Let's take our time in this. Let's look and see. We love this. Wait and see.
Wait and see.
Wait and see.
Wait lah.
Wait lah. Wait lah. Wait lah. See what they're going to do. Then only we react. Okay, that's another very Asian thing. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So welcome back to the post-analysis of episode 6, where I interviewed Ravindran Devagunam, who is a Malaysian, who was also a colleague of mine when we were working in various positions in the Malaysian government. He, of course, was with Pemandu. I was in, as always, in public policy research. So our paths have crossed many times throughout our career in the last 10 years, or 10, 15 years even. And because of his experience in India and having lived in India and having worked very closely even with the Prime Minister Modi's office, he has very special insights into the thinking of the policymakers in India, and he wanted to raise a very important development that has happened under the radar, very much under the radar, which is the Nicobar Islands on the Andaman Sea just before entering into the Straits of Malacca, on top of where you call where Aceh is in Sumatra. So if you look at the geography of the map that we have shown you, you can see that the Andaman Sea, the Nicobar Islands, is just at the western gateway into Malacca. And for those of you who have traveled to, say, Europe or India, you will always see the flight path going through certain a cluster of islands just before we hit into Thailand, and then down the places like Surat Thani and onto Langkawi. And for centuries, ships have traveled from the Indian Ocean, or obviously from Europe and the Middle East and Africa, bearing all sorts of goods from dairy products to oil from the Middle East, minerals from Africa, products from Africa, entering into the Andaman Sea. And this has been going on for literally centuries. In why Ravin has raised this this issue now is because he can see that there have been some move, obviously a geopolitical move by India to be closer to Southeast Asia. And he thinks that is very much a geopolitical, military, and security move on the part of India, because India, as you know, has now been, it's always been surrounded by um, uh, countries that it has very difficult relations with, whether it's Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and obviously Pakistan and China. So, and it seems that I think after Operation Sindhu, according to Ravindran, is that the Prime Minister Modi's administration is recalibrating a lot of its foreign policy in response to some of the political changes, namely, I think even as recent as Nepal, the so-called regime change started by the what you call the Gen Z revolution. And of course, a couple of years ago, there was the change in the government in Bangladesh, and of course, Sri Lanka before that. Um, Given there have been such maneuverings globally, and at the same time being hit by, this on-off ding-dong tariffs imposed by the US, and I think Ravin is trying, Ravin's trying to say is that the Modi government has no choice but relook at some of this recalibration in the balance of power in the region and the region around the Andaman Sea, because any nation that wants to project power in and be a major player in the maritime routes will have to look at the Straits of Malacca, because Straits of Malacca is so crucial to global trade. I think about 60% of the global trade goes through the Straits of Malacca, which is right at our doorstep. And I think what he calls India is going through a reckoning that it needs, it cannot rely on the West. It also cannot completely rely on China or Russia. It needs to forge its own path. And according to Ravindran, the Modi government is beginning to realize that this is of very, very crucial importance to India to be able to tap on its own economy, tap onto its own resources, particularly their population size, and that can be uh, although their income levels are very low at the moment, but it is still a potential that has not been harnessed properly. So he thinks that one of the first moves that India is going to make is actually in the Andaman Sea, because it has immense strategic value. But that cannot happen uh, if it wasn't for the impetus of maybe some of the external pressures, like, for example, the tariff wars, that is, tariffs that are being imposed on India, and also seeing um, China's military power, which was very obviously displayed during the 80th anniversary of the victory against Japan. So, looking at some of these signaling by great powers like China and the US, and also seeing that Russia is by no means ending the war in Ukraine, and Putin doesn't look like he is going to want to end it too soon until his objectives are met. Um, India feels that it needs to do something to forge its own path, and according to Reverend, he thinks that this administration is ripe to take that on in the next few years. So I hope you've enjoyed the interview with Ravindran, and we will be back again as so many things are developing in and around Malaysia, and and in the region for that matter. So it is interesting. Statecraft in Motion is actually looking at all these players in motion, and hopefully we're able to pick up little turning points, little gems, little hints, little tips, so that Malaysia, as a small country, will be able to leverage on some of these perhaps opportunities while the giants play. I'm sure there are some little gaps here and there that we could take advantage of. So until next time, I hope you enjoyed the episode 6 of the interview with Ravindran, and we will be back. Thank you very much.